Hey, welcome back to Garden Rose. I have a full day in the kitchen planned, so I figured I'd bring you along because I haven't been the best about showing you what I've been doing with all of my harvest. So I've already started, but I'm going to show you what I've got going on, and hopefully we'll get a lot done today and you can keep me accountable and we'll just hang out together. So let me show you what I've got cooking. All right, so this is very hot. Ooh. This is tomato puree with green bell peppers, jalapenos, onions, and celery. And I am working on this sombrero barbecue sauce from the Ball Canning book. I'm really excited to make this because my husband loves hot things, so I think a hot barbecue sauce will be right up his alley, and it's a great way to use a lot of the tomatoes that I have left in the garden. I roasted those tomatoes last night and put them through my food mill so that I was ready to just put them on the pot and let them simmer for the day. Well, not for the day, but for however long they need to. And I was just short of a double batch. So I figure I'll try the sombrero barbecue sauce, and then there's another barbecue sauce recipe in there that's just a plain barbecue sauce. And I figure why not try it? This year, I'll show you a little bit more about everything I've done with the tomatoes, but this year I feel like I've done a little bit of everything and kind of just viewing it as an experimental year to see what we really like. And then in coming years, if we find out like this salsa recipe was awesome, this tomato sauce, sorry, my dishwasher's going. This tomato sauce recipe was really good. This marinara recipe was really good. We'll figure out what we really like so that we'll make huge batches of that versus smaller batches of multiple things. So that's what I've been doing. And since I was just short of another recipe, I got more tomatoes going. So this, I think, in this roaster is the rest of the Romas. I have a lot in the freezer. I have a few bags of tomato puree that have already been through the food mill at my mom's freezer because mine was full. So I still have a lot of tomato left, but I think that that's all I'm taking from the garden. There's a few more still out there, but they're kind of past their prime. They're a little bit rotten. Some of them I cut into and there's like some mold stuff going on, so I've had to throw those away. So I think what's left out there is mostly that. I might get another handful and maybe we'll eat those ones fresh if they're still good. But I think that's it. I think that's done. I think I'm done with harvesting Romas out of the garden. So it's been a lot. I know you haven't seen a lot because I haven't been showing it because it's just been a little bit overwhelming. But let me show you what I've made with them so far. So the most recent thing I made was this tomato soup. This was the roasted tomato soup recipe from one of the Ball books. Not the one I just showed, but a different one. And I tasted this before I canned it, and I love it. I found a tomato soup recipe just on Pinterest that I really liked, but it wasn't safe for canning. And this is super close to that. So I'm really excited about this. I think this will be really nice in the winter. So I've got some tomato soup. And then over here, we did some salsa. So just a small batch, but excited to try that out to see if that's a good salsa to have. I was trying to figure out how to preserve like diced tomatoes without having them get really mushy in the canning process. So my mom and I cut all these up and we freeze dried them. So these are kind of like just freeze dried diced slices of tomatoes, and these are huge jars, so we've got a lot in here that hopefully we'll just throw into, you know, whatever calls for tomatoes to rehydrate them, and I'm excited to have these ones. And then here has been the catch-all for everything else. I have 8 quarts of this Italian sauce, so it's just like the basic Italian seasoning. This one, I have 4 pints of a seasoned sauce, I called it. It was, it's a similar recipe, but you, like, what did I do? I think I had to season the tomatoes, but then run them through the food mill. So I think all the seasoning kind of like you can tell, you don't see chunks of seasoning like you do in here. You don't put the seasoning directly in the sauce. You kind of like cook it with the seasonings, and then the food mill kind of takes the bigger pieces out. So this was kind of like a more seasoned tomato sauce versus, I hope I'm explaining that right, but I have 4 pints of that. And then this roasted marinara sauce. This has been really good. We had some extra that we didn't can, so we already tasted this, and that turned out really good too. So 4 pints of the roasted marinara. And then over here, I did some crushed tomatoes. So this was probably the easiest tomato project that I did, because I was able to just like crush them, put them in the jars, and can them. I didn't really have to put them through the food mill or anything. I did peel the skins off, because you're not supposed to can with the skins on, just for safety reasons, but the seeds are still in there. So we'll see. I think that'll be good for, you know, like chili or soup or any kind of thing that you'll throw tomatoes in. So I have like 9 pints. That whole row is crushed tomatoes, so I think I have 9 of those, so I'm excited to have those too. So that's the updates on the tomato things so far. I have diced a lot of onions, freeze-dried some, frozen some. I still have a little bit left here. This little bushel basket is still full of onions. So today I want to make some balsamic onion jam. I already made a batch of that, and I kind of messed it up because I used the wrong pectin. It actually calls for a low sugar pectin, and I didn't catch that before making it, so I just made it with regular pectin. So it still turned out okay. It still tasted really good, but I want to make it the correct way. So I'm gonna make another batch of that, and I still have this zucchini and this zucchini. So they've been holding on pretty strong. I think I'm gonna make a zucchini bread, whether it's a sweet one or a savory one. I need to make something with those zucchinis. And then last on my project list for today, this big bucket of jalapenos. I'm gonna make lots of cowboy candy, and I'm also gonna make some just jalapeno poppers to take to a little get together tomorrow. So keep me accountable. Those are my projects today. Let's see what we can get done. Oh man. Oh my god! I keep splattering like I keep going too high and it's splattering the oven. And probably the wall. Oh my god. Whoops. All right, so now we bring this back up to a boil after it's been all blended together and let it cook down, reduced by about half. It says that should only take 45 minutes, but we'll see. Let it rip. All right, and just in time, these are looking pretty good. I can probably crush the bigger ones down a little bit and let these cool just enough to put them through the food mill. All right, I threw on my microphone, so hopefully you can hear me a little bit better with all the noises going on in my kitchen. But I am going to start dicing up the onions. So I figured I would do the onions first so that I can clean this, you know, decently well in between the onions and the jalapenos, but if there's still some onion flavoring behind, I won't mind with the jalapenos, but I definitely don't want my onions tasting hot like a jalapeno. So we'll do onions first. This is my KitchenAid mixer that I am obsessed with. It makes everything so much easier and quicker. So I have this is the dicing attachment that goes right in here. And then this blade goes right on top. So I can just throw the onions in here and they will dice up into perfect little squares for my balsamic onion jam. So that is set up and ready to go. Okay, so this is the ball book that I'm getting the balsamic onion jam from, and that's actually it pictured on that burger. So good. And that's how we had it. When I first made it, we had it on top of burgers, and it was just so good. So I'm really excited. I need 2 pounds of diced onions for one batch. One batch makes 5 half-pint jars, and I'm actually making this as a kind of like prize / party favor for my baby shower. I don't know if you can tell or if you've noticed just yet, but my husband and I are expecting. It's our first and we're very excited. So it just feels, exciting to make some favors. I made a zucchini bread jam in little half-pint jars, and then I'm gonna make this onion jam to give away to people who are coming to my shower. So I do want to make a few batches of it just because I want to make maybe I bought a whole box of the half-pint jelly jars. So I probably will make that whole box, so 12 for the shower, and then I definitely want more for myself. So yeah, I'm just gonna start dicing up these onions and see how far it gets me. I'll just measure as I go and maybe keep a mental note or set aside 2 pounds each. Because I think too, when you make jams and just canning recipes in general, I think I've heard not to double it. I think it's better if you just make the batch, can that batch, and then make another batch. I know it's going to take more work, but especially getting it wrong the first time and using the wrong pectin and not having it set up properly, I want to make sure that this one comes out right. So I'm probably just going to make one batch at a time. So I'll just set aside 2 pounds, 2 pounds, 2 pounds until we get what we want. Yeah, so that's next. So I don't know if you saw in the KitchenAid, the width is only that big of the hole to put it in, so that'll be too wide. So I just have to cut these into a size that will fit in there. But again, going through this and cutting them up is nothing compared to dicing them all, so this will come in handy really well. So here I am talking away and my microphone is not on. It took me this long to realize that, but the fan in the background was just too loud, and this was the fun conversation I was having. I decided that I was going to share a little bit more about our pregnancy news. So I figured I would just do a quick voiceover. So sorry, my words aren't matching up with what I'm doing right now. I know that might be driving some of you crazy, but yeah, we are pregnant and we are super excited. I know I just kind of soft launched it a little bit earlier here, but that kind of explains why I've been a little bit MIA. It's been difficult to go out into the garden as much, especially in the heat of the summer. I've, had some nausea and just exhaustion in the first trimester, but I'm feeling a lot better now and I really have no complaints. I think this pregnancy has been so exciting for us and we are just so ready to become parents, and all of this, food prep and growing our own food, it all just feels so much better now knowing that some of this food we're saving up will, help us in the postpartum days. Depending on how long it stores, maybe we'll be feeding our little baby some of this stuff. So yeah, it adds a little layer of excitement to it additionally. I've been slowly getting my booty back into gear and getting some of these projects done. We've been working on the house and the nursery and all the things. Our plates were already pretty full and now they're even that much more full. So it's been really busy, but it's been all the best busyness. And the garden has just been something that I haven't been able to spend as much time in as I would have liked to and as I thought I would. When the year first started out. So my apologies for not showing as many of the garden tours and keeping you updated like I said I would with all the things that I've been growing, but hopefully you can see some of the things that I have been doing with these projects and you can get a feel for how the garden did this year. But thanks for your patience and we are super excited. So we appreciate any well wishes. All right, so now we got a big 7.5 quart bowl, basically full of diced onions, which is exactly why I love this, because that would have taken me all day to dice those up by hand. So gotta weigh those out. But at this point, I think we're good to move on to the next step with this barbecue sauce. I don't know that I would say it's gone down completely half, but after we add the seasoning and vinegar, we still have to let it cook down even more for like another hour. So I think I'm gonna move on to that step. So let me get those things ready. Okay, so one thing I need to do with the next step is put some peppercorns in a cheesecloth makeshift spice bag. Ugh. I need 1 teaspoon of whole black peppercorns. I'll lay those in this bag and tie it up somehow. I probably need some string. It's a lot of extra. Maybe I don't need all this bag. Oh, I wonder if I can make a strip of it to tie it. Let me try that. So here's my peppercorns. And I'll use this as a tie. Okay, so I don't think those are coming out, and then I guess I can like grab it from there. It's kind of ghosty on season for Halloween. All right, so I need to put this in there, but I also need to put in other things, so I'm gonna just wait a second so I can get my bearings. Okay, we need vinegar, brown sugar, garlic, mustard, paprika, hot pepper sauce, salt, and this. All right, so I'm gonna go grab a garlic. Still haven't done anything with that basket of garlic in my garage, but I need to soon because I'm gonna be planting some of that soon. So whatever I choose not to plant, then I'll preserve the rest. Okay, so there's my cloves. All right, how much vinegar? 2.5 cups. 1.5 cups of lightly packed brown sugar. That's a hot splatter. Dang. Okay, 2 cloves of garlic. I'm like so nervous I'm gonna dump this whole thing. I had a bad experience with cumin when I was making my salsa, so I'm a little scarred. Okay. All right, and then 2 teaspoons of hot pepper sauce. All right, I'm just gonna use Frank's. So we want 2 teaspoons of that. And then 1.5 teaspoons of salt. So stir that. I'm going to bump up the heat because it has to return to a boil. And all that vinegar kind of brought it a little bit cooler. And then these peppercorns, I think I'm just going to feels weird, but I'm going to trust the process. All right, so then we're bringing this back up to a boil and stir until thickened. So it's the consistency of a thin commercial barbecue sauce, about an hour. So we'll just let it go until it's a good consistency that we like, and then we can can it. Okay, and then in the meantime, I can start on the balsamic onion jam now that I have all those onions sliced up. So I need 2 pounds, which I will measure out. Then another thing I did wrong with this recipe is that I put the apple juice and pectin in right away with the onions and balsamic vinegar, maple syrup, all of that. And I misread it. I was supposed to leave those 2 ingredients out first, so that you can like kind of let the onions cook down and get the balsamic and maple syrup kind of glazed them a little bit so that they cook down and they're not just like a raw onion in the jelly. So those cook for about 15 minutes. Then you add the apple juice and the pectin and then start making the jam. So I know now, and I think this batch will turn out a lot better. So I'm gonna get going on that. This calls for 2 teaspoons of white pepper, I think just to make the colors, like, you know, really nice, but I don't have that, so I'm just using black pepper. Something I really want to grow next year would be bay leaves. So if anyone's done that, I looked into it and I found the plant isn't called like a bay leaf plant. It's called something else, but I think it should be pretty easy enough. I don't see anyone doing it. So I wonder if it's more challenging than I'm thinking it is. But if you have experience growing bay leaves, please let me know how you do it. So that's what we're letting cook down for about 15 minutes before adding in the apple juice and pectin. And our barbecue sauce is bubbling away. While that all cooks down, I'm going to stay hydrated and start milling those tomatoes. And probably put some shoes on because my feet are starting to hurt. And I'm not tapping out yet. All right, so these are getting to a pretty good place, I think. The balsamic vinegar is pretty much cooked off. So this is a better place than what I had going last time. So I feel pretty good about that. And they smell really good. So I think I can add in my apple juice and pectin. And 3 tablespoons of low sugar pectin. So I got the right stuff this time. All right, so we're gonna stir that in. Let that come to a full rolling boil that you can't stir away. Yeah, and then we only need a 1/2 cup of sugar, so clearly the low sugar pectin is needed versus the regular one, which was just my mistake the first time, but no biggie. It just didn't really set up that well, but with this being like an oniony jam, like spread on burgers, it didn't really bother us that it was a little bit more liquidy, so I think it all worked out well. Got most of what I saw was clumped up pectin out, so let's add our sugar. We want this to boil hard for 1 minute. All right, now we're gonna take this off the heat. Okay, so we want these filled to 1/4 inch headspace. First I gotta get that bay leaf out of there. Which of course now is hiding. Come on, where'd you go? Ah. All right, so quarter-inch. Yeah, this is already looking so much different than the last batch, so I feel really good about this. So let's see. A little bit more. This is gonna be messy, but that's just how it is sometimes. Okay, I'm gonna wipe this rim down. All right, so the timer just went off, so the canner is done. Those are just gonna sit for a few minutes before I take them out. And I feel like I didn't even make a dent in these diced onions. And looking at it is just overwhelming me. I think I just need to have like something checked off my list. So with the onion jam being done and all of those onions being diced up, I think I'm just gonna put these in a bag and put them in the freezer. I have so many frozen onions, but I'm thinking that when I am not so busy and overwhelmed with so many things, I can take those out and make more onion jam for myself. This made 9 of the half pints, so I feel like that'll be great for the baby shower. And then I don't think that if they're frozen and then thawed and then cooked for the jam, I don't think that'll mess with the consistency so much. So I'm just hoping for the best. But yeah, I think it's time to be done with the onions. So I'm gonna cut some corners and shorten some things up where I can, because it is already 3:30 and I feel like I haven't even gotten anything done. I know I have, but I still have so much more that I want to do. So I'm just gonna chop these onions up short. Not chop them, but like, you know, cut the project in short. So into the freezer they go with the rest of the onions. All right, we decided to call this good. It's got a pretty good consistency. It's maybe a little bit runny than a normal barbecue sauce, but I mean, we were getting to the point where it was just splattering everywhere. So it wasn't really like evaporating as much as it was before. So we tasted it, we like it. It's not super spicy. Like I can eat this. So I don't know, I thought it would be a little bit hotter, but it's okay that it's not. So yeah, we're gonna can this up and then it just goes in the water bath. So easy enough. The balsamic onion jams came out and they're looking good. So we'll load those up and run the canner again. All right, the barbecue sauce in the canner has a few minutes left and then it'll be done. And in that time, I was able to get all the tomatoes through the food mill and pureed. So, time to start the next batch of barbecue sauce. But I'm gonna take a little break. My husband and I are actually gonna go to Home Depot to look at some stuff for the nursery. So that'll split up the day a little bit and I'll come back hopefully feeling refreshed and ready to do at least the cowboy candy and maybe start this next batch of barbecue sauce, but that'll be it. We didn't actually think that I could do all that in one day, right? It's no longer the weekend, but there's still projects that need to be done, so fitting in what I can, I'm gonna put the second batch of barbecue sauce on the stove so that that can start boiling down while I get the rest of this all cleaned up. So yeah, let's see what else we can do today. Okay, so I need another 16 cups of tomato puree, which is all here and ready to go for me. We have just a little bit extra in here and another bowl this size in there. So again, I overshot it, but whatever. I think maybe with that actually, let's see. Once I get my other pot cleaned, I can put that on too and just have another one cooking down. I'm probably gonna run into the same thing where I don't have quite enough for 2 batches. So I might just have to make sauce with that one. But then the tomatoes will be done, so that's good. So to these tomatoes, I'm adding 2 cups of diced onions. And these are frozen. But I think that'll be okay. And then when these onions cook down and soften a little bit, I can bring the immersion blender in here and just break those up so that they're not clumps of onion in there. But we'll let those cook a little bit first. Okay, this could potentially work out because the pizza sauce recipe only calls for 13 cups of puree, which might be what I have here. So I'm gonna at least measure it out and see. So there's 4. I don't know. 8. 11. I'm just gonna make sauce. All right, so this sauce is done. I just added some seasoning and I decided I'm just gonna freeze that instead of canning it because it might only be a couple pints. I probably could can it at the same time as this barbecue sauce, but then I would definitely have to add lemon juice to it, and I don't know, sometimes I just want to go for a sauce that doesn't taste lemony. I still haven't figured out how to. I haven't tried using citric acid. Maybe that's really the biggest trick, is that I need to try it with citric acid before committing to lemon juice and using that to make all of our sauce. But I'm going to freeze that, and then the barbecue sauce is continuing to cook down. After it goes a little bit more, I will add the rest of the ingredients to that pot. And in the meantime, I'm going to finish working on the jalapenos and start making some cowboy candy. Start dicing them up and get to cowboy candy later. Okay, so I have my tomato sauce in little containers to put in the freezer. And then this barbecue sauce is smelling so good. It's already smelling better than the other one that I just made, so I think the regular barbecue sauce might be the way to go. But we'll continue to let that cook down and then give it a taste, and we'll really be able to see. And then I've got dinner going too, but I also have my jalapenos all diced up to make the cowboy candy. This is a huge bowl, red and green both. It's gonna be very festive for when I wanna give this away for Christmas presents, so I'm excited about that. But I think because I still have to can the barbecue sauce, I don't wanna start the cowboy candy, because it's 7:30, that'll take me quite a while to get that all simmered down and then can that up. So I think what I'm gonna do is pop those in the fridge and can those up tomorrow. And then I will be done with my big preservation projects, at least the ones that are on my mind right now, the ones that have been bugging me to get done. So I feel really good with the progress that I've made. I will throw in a few clips here of the final products of each of those things as I wrap them up, but I'm gonna end this video here and call it a day. I think it's been good. Considering how exhausted I am all the time, I feel like I got a lot done. So I'm proud. I'm happy to have these checked off my list, and thanks for coming along to keep me accountable along the way. All right, we'll see you on the next one.